walking through Lisbon here, and yeah, this is gonna be super uncut, raw, but I recently did a fast, so it was what was it, 60 hours in total. I was going for 72, but I was a little weak towards the end, just to be honest. But in the fast, I did feel closer to God at some point, and I feel like, I mean, speaking to a lot of people and kind of taking in the message of, you know, what being a Christian really is and being a disciple really is, it is our duty as Christians to share that message with others and to share the good news. And in that silence, in the fast, I learned that God wants me to start creating content and to start sharing the Christian message. You know, not making any promises on frequency, because I feel like when you tie yourself to that, you limit how the impact of the videos will go, you know. And I also don't want to make this my career, but I want to share the Christian message through these videos, and to hopefully create one new Christian every video. But in the fast, there was a few things that kind of stood out to me when I was doing it, and it was the first kind of revelation, as you would say, was talking about my experiences in life that I've had so far, and, you know, the good ones and also the not so good ones, which I've had many of each, to be honest, as we all have. And really interesting, because in that silence, I sat and I prayed and I listened to what God had to say, and there was one really loud voice. Sorry, I'm walking down a hill here, so the camera might be like jumping a little bit, but there was one really loud voice. It was the second night, just as I was sitting there, and I heard this voice of saying, your entire experience is a mirror of your internal state. So everyone you meet, all your experiences with the world are subjective, but also it's like a direct reflection of how you're feeling on the inside. And like, for a lot of people that might be common knowledge, but it was a really great reminder for me, you know, like all the things that trigger you, really what they are, you know, insecurities in yourself, or you know, places where you don't value yourself. But equally, the things that you do well, you know, the accomplishments you've had in your life are, you know, when you're feeling good about yourself. And I think, like, in terms of, you know, like achieving things or feeling good, it's a bit of like a chicken and the egg question. Is like, do I need to feel good about myself first to achieve things, or do I need to achieve things to feel good? And I truly believe that, like, feeling good is not dependent on circumstances. And I always think back to this video I watched. It was about 2 or 3 years ago, and those poor guys in Ukraine and Russia who are fighting right now, and there was a video of like one of the trenches, and you can see, like, you know, soldiers in there fighting for their lives, and like there was a bombshell that just went straight over their head, and the soldiers, like, they looked at each other and they just laughed. And like, you put a normal person in that situation, and obviously they're going to be stressed out of their mind. You know, it's a critical situation. Their life is flashing before their eyes. But I think humans, like, we're very adaptive creatures, and we can shape to the circumstances. So even in that situation, they were able to find joy, which is so hard to comprehend, right? You know, in the Bible it talks about rejoicing always, regardless of circumstance, rejoicing always in the Lord. And, you know, sometimes we're quite selective in when we rejoice. Sometimes it's after a big win, or, you know, when we have the girl, or when things are going good, right? But God wants us to rejoice always in the good, in the bad, and that's the really hard part. And please don't take me as like preaching for here. This is very much like an internal dialogue of like what I'm learning right now, and just sharing my thoughts generally. But going back to that point, like, is joy dependent on circumstances? I don't think it's indirectly correlated, but I don't think it's dependent on it. Oh my goodness. Boring. I don't think it's completely dependent on it. So the next time that I'm faced with a tough situation, it's practicing like being happy for it in some way, right? Like you gotta thank you gotta thank God for the opportunity to face the challenge. And in talking to one of my friends the other day, that talks about the story of David and Goliath. So then they talked about, you know, the armies clashed together, and you know, no one was going to step up, but meager little David was able to step up and face Goliath. And in order to make a king out of David, he didn't give him some little challenge. Like, he gave him this 9-foot giant that he had to overthrow. And like, if we want to be giants in our life, we're gonna have to overcome some pretty treacherous stuff, right? Like, we're gonna get slandered, we're gonna get, you know, pretty horrible stuff, right? But if we want to be leaders in our community, if we want to really make a massive difference, we have to show joy in those moments of challenge. And this is a rhetoric that really played whenever I was fasting. So yeah, hope everyone is doing well. Peace, and yeah, stay strong. See ya.